Elon Musk's bodyguard is fired after 15 years. You won't believe what Elon did next. For 15 years, Marco Richards had been by Elon Musk's side, silent, strong, and loyal. The 6'4" former Navy SEAL had become more than just a bodyguard to the billionaire. He was a trusted confidant, a shield against the world that often wanted to tear Elon apart. Over the years, Marco had seen it all: the constant media attention, the high-stakes business deals, the relentless pressure. But he never faltered. He kept Elon safe no matter the cost. But on one fateful afternoon in early 2025, everything changed. The phone rang in Marco's private office. Elon's voice on the other end. "Marco, I think it's time we part ways." The words felt like a punch to the gut. Marco had always prided himself on his role in Elon's life, his dedication to keeping him safe, being there when no one else could. He thought of all the long hours, the risks, the shared moments of silence after a stressful day. 15 years of loyalty, and now, in one phone call, it was all over. He couldn't believe it. Elon had always been known for his unpredictable nature. But this, it was unexpected. Marco thought about everything he had sacrificed for Elon's safety, his family, his personal life, everything to make sure Musk could navigate the world without fear. And now, it was all over. The decision came after a heated discussion the day before. Elon had made it clear that things were changing, and it was time for new faces around him. There was a shift in the air, a coldness Marco had never felt before. Was it because of a new security policy, or was it something deeper? Marco didn't know. But what Marco didn't expect was that this wouldn't be the end of the story. What Elon did next would leave everyone, especially Marco, speechless. Marco sat in his office, stunned. He couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal, even though he knew this was a business decision. He had spent 15 years in service to Elon, and in an instant his role was gone. What now? What would his future hold after such a long tenure? He wasn't just a bodyguard. He was a part of Elon's team, a man who had been there during the highest highs and the lowest lows. The next day, Marco went through the motions. He packed his things, said his goodbyes to the security team, and left the building that had once been his second home. There was a heavy silence hanging in the air as he stepped out, wondering how things had gone so wrong so quickly. But just as he reached his car, his phone buzzed. It was an unfamiliar number. He hesitated, but answered. "Marco," a calm voice said on the other end. It was Elon's. "I need to talk to you in person. Can you meet me?" Confused but intrigued, Marco agreed. What could Elon possibly want? They had already said their goodbyes. When Marco arrived at Elon's private residence an hour later, he was met by a new security detail, all businesslike but respectful. They led him to Elon's office, where Musk was waiting. Elon stood as Marco walked in, his face unreadable but calm. "Marco, I made a mistake," Elon said, his voice carrying a hint of regret. "I didn't handle this well. What you've done for me, for the company, it's more than just a job. I realize that now." Marco blinked, unsure of what to say. This wasn't the conversation he had expected. Elon continued, "I've been under a lot of pressure lately, more than I care to admit. But what I failed to see was that you've always been more than just a bodyguard. You've been a friend, a brother, someone I could rely on when things got tough." The tension in the room started to ease. Marco's heart raced, but there was a sense of hope now, a possibility that maybe things weren't as final as he thought. "I know this isn't just about security," Elon said, sitting down behind his desk. "It's about respect, and I haven't given you enough of that." Marco stood frozen, still processing the words. Elon's next actions were something Marco would never have anticipated, a gesture that would change the course of their relationship forever. Elon leaned forward, his usual calculated demeanor now replaced by a rare vulnerability. "Marco, I've been thinking about everything you've done for me, for the company, for my family. You've kept me safe through things I couldn't even share with anyone. I owe you more than just a thank you." Marco stood there, still processing what Elon was saying. The man he had served for so long, the one who had given him a job but never truly shown appreciation, was now acknowledging everything he had done. It was more than Marco could have ever imagined. Elon stood up and walked over to a cabinet, pulling out an envelope. He handed it to Marco, who took it, his mind racing. The envelope was thick, heavy, like it contained something important. He opened it cautiously. Inside was a check, made out to Marco. It was for an amount that took his breath away. It was not just a severance payment, but an amount far beyond what Marco could have expected. Elon wasn't just thanking him, he was giving him something that could set him up for life. "I want you to know this isn't just about money," Elon said. "This is for the years of loyalty, the times you've had my back when no one else did. You've given your heart to this job, and I realize now that it's time I give something back to you." Marco could hardly speak. He had been expecting a simple exit, maybe a handshake and a few parting words. But this was a statement, a grand gesture that showed Elon was truly aware of what Marco had sacrificed over the years. But Elon wasn't done. He continued, "This isn't just a severance payment, Marco. This is an investment in your future. I want you to take this and do whatever you want with it. Start something new, take care of yourself, and never feel like you're stuck. You've earned it." Marco stood, stunned, holding the check as if it were a symbol of everything he had worked for and everything he hadn't expected to receive. Marco sat in the chair, still holding the check in his hands. He hadn't said a word since Elon handed it to him. The weight of the gesture, the magnitude of what Elon was offering, left him speechless. It wasn't just the money. It was the respect, the recognition of his loyalty over the years. For the first time, Marco felt seen, truly appreciated. This wasn't just a business decision, it was personal. Elon gave Marco a moment to process before he spoke again. "I know I haven't made this easy on you. I've been hard to work with at times, demanding, always pushing. But you've never wavered. You've always had my back." Elon's voice softened. "You've been more than just a bodyguard. You've been a protector in ways I can't explain, and I'll always value that." Marco looked at Elon, his eyes filled with gratitude. The tough, enigmatic billionaire he had served for years was now opening up in a way Marco never thought possible, but there was still something heavy on his mind. "What happens now?" Marco asked, breaking the silence. "What's my place in all of this? You're offering me so much, but I still don't understand why you're doing this." Elon leaned back in his chair, taking a deep breath. "It's simple, Marco. You deserve it. I've been surrounded by people who've only seen me for what I can offer them, but you, well, you were always different. You saw me for who I really am, not just the public figure or the businessman. You stayed by my side, even when things got tough, even when I pushed you away." Marco nodded, understanding now. It wasn't just about the job, it was about trust. And through all the years of highs and lows, the one constant had been Marco's unwavering loyalty. Elon realized that no amount of money could ever fully repay that, but he could at least try. "Take this as a sign of everything I've learned," Elon continued. "Sometimes the people who are there for you the most, who help you grow, aren't always the ones you notice right away. You've been that person for me, and I want to make sure you know that before we part ways." Marco stood up, still in disbelief, but feeling a sense of peace he hadn't expected. "Thank you, Elon. This means more than I can say." Elon smiled. "You're welcome, Marco. And remember, I've got your back, just like you've always had mine." As Marco stepped out of Elon's office, the weight of the day settled on him, but in a way that felt strangely light. He had come to the meeting with so many questions, so many doubts, but in the end, Elon had given him far more than he expected. Not just money, but recognition, respect, and the chance to start anew. Marco walked to his car, still holding the check in his hand, but now with a sense of clarity. He wasn't leaving with just a severance package. He was leaving with a new outlook on his life. For the first time in years, he could choose what came next for him. He had freedom. He had choices. A few weeks later, Marco did something he never thought he would. He started his own security company. With the money Elon had given him and his years of experience, Marco was ready to step out on his own. He could feel the weight lifting off his shoulders with every step he took toward his new future. Word spread quickly about the man who had protected Elon Musk for years, and now, with the financial backing and support from Elon, Marco's reputation grew. He didn't just start a business, he started a legacy. His new company quickly became known for its unmatched security solutions, with a focus on protecting not just the wealthy, but anyone who needed it. Marco had always been about protecting what mattered, his family, his friends, and his clients, and now he had the platform to do it on his terms. Years passed, and Marco's company flourished. But what meant the most to him wasn't the success or the recognition. It was the message Elon had sent. The idea that loyalty, respect, and dedication could mean more than just a paycheck, that someone could recognize the value of a person beyond their job, made Marco's transition smoother than he had ever imagined. And as for Elon, well, Marco kept in touch, just a simple message here and there. It was a reminder that, no matter where life took them, the bond they shared was one that couldn't be broken by money or distance. Years went by, and Marco's life had truly changed. His company had grown, and his name was now known in the world of security as one of the most respected figures in the field. Yet despite all the success, there were moments of quiet reflection that always brought him back to the day he walked out of Elon Musk's office, holding that check. That moment wasn't just about money, it was about understanding the true value of loyalty, the power of respect, and how a simple act of recognition could change a life. One evening, as Marco was wrapping up a long day of meetings, his phone buzzed. It was a message from Elon. "You still running that company, Marco? Keep me updated. I always knew you'd do great things." A simple message, but one that carried weight. Marco smiled, knowing that despite the years apart, the respect they had for one another hadn't faded. Elon's gesture had been more than just about starting a business. It had been about empowering Marco to stand on his own, to prove that even in the face of uncertainty, loyalty and dedication could take a person further than they ever imagined. As Marco sat back in his chair, looking out the window at the city skyline, he realized that everything he had now, the success, the independence, the respect, was born from that one pivotal moment. A moment when a simple act of kindness and recognition had set him on a new path. And though his journey had been full of challenges, it had also been full of growth. And in that growth, he found something he had never expected, the power to shape his own future. He never forgot the lesson Elon taught him. It wasn't the money that mattered most. It was the belief that someone had seen his worth and trusted him to make something extraordinary. And now, as Marco looked at his company's achievements, he knew that this was just the beginning.